and Shearer. It's Shearer for Newcastle.
The way he brought that down was fabulous. Cantona.
What a goal! Aguero!
Only football can make you feel like this.
After all that was made of England's 55-year wait for a major tournament trophy, it was Italy who proved to be the drought breakers, ending their 53-year wait for a European Championships crown. Yes, welcome back to the Shooting Czars podcast with me, Stewart Marshall, and the band is officially back together. Bryce Conway and Alex Grant join me from their relevant locations. Grant is back in quarantine in Pohang, but Bryce is down in South Beach in Perth. Boys, it's been a while. I think it's been nearly 2 weeks since we last spoke. How are we all? Bryce, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Definitely struggled a bit at work yesterday after getting up at 3 o'clock, but no, it was a calm way to watch the final. But yeah, just a bit knackered, I'd say, a bit knackered.
Emotionally drained. That's how I felt after yesterday. Granty, I'm going to throw it to you now, mate. How are you going? You know, England's failure. How did that sit with you?
Sprightly after that cracking intro from you. Top stuff, mate. I know before the podcast you said you were going to prepare one, but that was immense, mate. Very
Fantastic.
good.
That was just too easy. So,
Well, I'm okay.
yeah, you're all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. A bit tired, but
Bit tired, lying in bed for those that are watching the YouTube version of this podcast. He's got his hands on his head, up against the wall. You're back in quarantine before you get into the game, Alex. We were just talking before we started recording. The Asian Champions League duties with Pohang are over, and that's why the listeners haven't been able to hear from you. But now you're back in your home city, and you are quarantining.
yeah, I got 1 week at the clubhouse here in Pohang, and then we've got 1 week of monitoring from home. But I think I can kind of go out and get to the shops and whatnot and go grab a coffee in that week. So, yeah, a few more days of freedom after 4 weeks of just confinement.
Punishment.
Yeah. Yeah, you can call it that if you want.
Jail time for those that have maybe been keeping up with what we've been talking about. But I guess this pod, we're going to just do a quick deep dive into England's failure. There's only one way to put it, boys. Their 55-year wait, as I mentioned, for a major tournament trophy goes on. The World Cup heroes of 1966 remain the only heroes from a football context in England. Oh, where do we start? I mean, how do we feel? I don't really know where to start. I mean, we could try and analyze the whole game, but maybe just sum up how we're all feeling. I mean, I was feeling flat yesterday. It was like you say, Bryce, you got up at 3 a.m. to watch this, and we rode our luck probably throughout the 120 minutes. And fair play to Italy. They were by far the better team, weren't they? But yeah, just a sad ending given the situation, playing at Wembley Stadium and then to bow out on penalties like that. Just a bit shit, isn't it?
Well, I think it was just disappointing from the moment Shaw scored. You just thought, oh, wow, England are going to do this. This is their time, and it's all lining up together. A great fairy tale story for Luke Shaw as well, coming back from injury and being a bit of a much maligned player in the past few years, I'd say as well. Receiving criticism from his manager, Mourinho, when he was at United, just to get to this point to score in a Euro final. I thought it was awesome. I was pumped for him. But just from that moment, it seemed like the tactic from Southgate was to invite the pressure on from Italy and sit back, and it really didn't work. And Italy, I mean, they defended fantastically up until Bonucci's equaliser. What was the 74th minute? But
yeah, I'll check. Go on.
They kind of, conceded the advantage there and didn't keep attacking, and it was all Italy pretty much from that point on. I think it was about 70% possession they had in the second half, Italy. So, yeah, it's just a dominant Italy performance in the end. And I think they did deserve to win it. Yeah,
so Leonardo Bonucci scored in the 67th minute, but it's fair to say, especially that early stage of the second half, they were all over England, right? I mean, England had the best first 20 minutes. The crowd were lively. Italy, probably was struggling to contain the crowd. And then obviously the early goal would just ramped things up to 100 for England.
Mental, yeah.
And I think just the atmosphere and whatnot was overawing Italy, and that was like spurring England on. But Italy like completely weathered that storm, and then like from that point, like midway through this first half, it was their game really. I think.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Alex? I mean, sum up your emotions and sort of how you saw the game. Firstly, before we maybe dissect it anymore.
Yeah, I think one thing I thought straight away, as soon as Shaw scored, it could shoot us in the foot, that. Because as soon as you score first, you're kind of giving, especially in a big game like that, you're giving the opposition a lot of time to get back into the game. And remember, then Italy have to score to get back into the game. So they're the ones who are going to be pushing for it. And I think England kind of approached, I think the first half, they actually played okay. And you saw Harry Kane drop deep, got on the ball. England created a few chances. I know Italy responded as well and had a bit of chunk of possession in the first half as well. But I think England weathered the storm pretty well in the first half. I think probably half time, though, was the perfect opportunity for Southgate to maybe change the formation to 4 at the back and go slightly more attacking and push for the second goal. And I think he didn't change it until he brought Saka on, and I don't think that was until around the 70th minute mark when he went to 4 at the back. And yeah, I just think England, they just had a bit of a negative approach. Harry Kane in the second half didn't really press much. You saw the Italians, they just went for it. They pressed at every opportunity, made Pickford play long balls. Bonucci and Chiellini, or whatever his name is, hit the ball up at the back. What's his name?
He's Chiellini. Just 2 world-class centre-backs.
They bossed it, the pair of them. They were probably the 2 best players on the pitch. And what's his name? The little man.
Verratti.
Insigne?
No, come on,
Chiesa?
lads.
Chiesa was the best.
Chiesa, the left winger.
Sure.
He was amazing.
He was a beast, yeah.
Him and Declan Rice were the 2 best players on the
Yeah.
pitch. I thought Declan Rice was very good at breaking up play because the Italians were pressing really high. And look at me, I've adopted this. Like, what am I doing?
Hey, yeah.
The Italians were pressing high, and Declan Rice seemed the only England player to actually try and break through that press by taking Italian players on and looking to play forward, where it was a lot of the other players were playing quite negatively and going back. And like I said, it was always seemed to be going back to Pickford and the ball was getting pumped long, and then the Italians were on the attack again. So, yeah, I think the substitutions were a bit late as well from Southgate's point of view. I think he said it publicly that he'll take the blame for everything that happened. The penalties were poor. Yeah, overall, I think it was a disappointing performance from England. But I don't think they've set the tournament alight as what everyone's made out. I think they've grinded out and got results.
I agree.
Professionally and methodically. I don't think they've played amazing football. I think they played okay football throughout the tournament and they've just got the results and got over the line. And I think the Italians were just too big a test for them. And also, I think if England maybe had been on the other side of the draw, they may have also struggled to get through to the final.
Yes, they managed it in like a really a good tournament style of football, getting through, keeping clean sheets, managing players. I think you're right. There was never. I mean, the Ukraine game was. I think they did set it alight, but again, opposition not exactly the top echelon there. So it was like good performance, scored freely, but it wasn't setting it alight. I completely agree. But then some of Italy's performances were like, wow, throughout the tournament. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's probably fair. That's the thing with this team. This is a side note, something I've been thinking about, but it's funny, just the media attention this team gets is like no other sport and any other team. Like, honestly, if England are doing well in a major tournament, there is nothing like it from a sporting context in the world. And it's funny, just before we move on, it's funny in countries like Australia, where Australia football is a maligned sport amongst lots of people, and everybody hates it, and play a real sport and all that lame shit. Anyway, but then it's like as soon as England are doing well, or there's like a major football story going on, it's like the whole country gets behind it. Anyway, side note, I just needed to get that off my chest.
No,
Anyway,
I feel that for sure.
So it's go on.
Hey, I tell you what, I didn't know I had so many Italian followers on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
people who I was. Jesus,
what are they saying?
No, they just all come out the cracks, don't they? When Italy have done.
Oh right, yeah, celebrating.
It's disappointing. Yeah, it's annoying as well, the fact that I think England as a nation, I think they're so good when it comes to football and celebrating the England team, even though they've not brought so much success. I remember growing up that whenever there was a World Cup or Euros, there was always such like big euphoria and excitement surrounding the tournament, whether it be in shops and schools and workplaces around the country. It's just everyone gets up for it, And I feel like Australia slightly lags behind in that department. But I'm looking at videos on social media of like hundreds of Italian fans. Was it in Adelaide or Melbourne or wherever?
Yeah, it was in Melbourne.
Lygon Street. Yeah.
I saw a tweet and someone put that it's just such a shame that all these football fans who have watched the Euros don't follow the A-League.
Oh mate, yeah.
People that enjoy the game.
Yeah.
In Australia, clearly. But they don't want to go and support the local team. And I bet half of them have never even been to Italy, let alone had a pizza or pasta.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And that's what I've been thinking. It's like you see, but even from the media perspective, it's like Italy when Italy won the trophy, in Australia, you had Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, ABC, all the big news networks running breaking news straps and breaking news stories and cutting to reporters in the crowd. It's like Australia's not even in the story yet. It's such a big deal, but it's just like that doesn't translate to the domestic game, and then it's still, for whatever reason, like it has this perception within the culture in Australia that soccer's a shit game because there's AFL and NRL and cricket, I don't know, whatever else, but you know what I mean? It's just like it's almost like, no, don't be putting the story on TV there. Like, don't be celebrating the Euros the way you are if you're not going to get behind the actual game. But anyway, it's just something that I
think it's a really good point, Stu, because I get annoyed by it too. But then you kind of look at the product of the A-League, and when you're comparing that to the Serie A, La Liga, and English Premier League, you just go, why would I watch it? And I think I've struggled with that at times as a football fan, but I think it's for people that are trying to get into the sport and watch a national team, see Euros or World Cup and go, oh my God, how good is this? Because it's the pinnacle of world football. And then they go to A-League and they're like, oh, that was a bit disappointing. Like, just seeing that. And then if they want to watch AFL, it's the best because it's only played in Australia. They go, this is the best competition in the world. I'm watching the best players in the world every week at this sport. So I think it's really tough as a product to try and get people involved.
Yeah, no, that's probably it. But anyway, that's it's not really
snobbery at its finest, that.
Huh?
Snobbery at its finest.
Yeah, it's funny how it happens in Australia. Anyway, but anyway, I guess looking at the game, England, they had 2 or live scores telling me they had 1 shot on target, 4 shots off target, 1 blocked shot, 38% possession. Italy had 6 shots on target, 9 shots off target, and 5 blocked shots with 62% possession. So Italy were the better team. As you mentioned, Alex, the substitutions, I'm just going to have a look now. Wherever it is. It doesn't have. Oh, no, it does have the time. So, Kieran Trippier came on for Bukayo Saka in the 70th minute. And Bukayo Saka came off for Kieran Trippier. What did we think of that, Brycey?
Look, I think.
What did you make of the substitutions then? So you got Saka on for Trippier, Henderson on for Rice. I mean, Alex, you said that Rice was the best player. Do you think that was fair? I mean, I didn't mind that one because Rice was maybe tiring. It looked like he'd run his race, but some other people disagree.
A lot of effort in, but I thought Jordan Henderson looked miles off it
Yeah.
I thought he was sloppy on the ball. I thought every time that there was a 50-50 duel and the ball bounced down into kind of open space, he was just a yard off it. He just didn't look like he was going to get to the ball. You know, he just wasn't at his best, Jordan Henderson, as we know he can be, which was a bit disappointing. The Saka one, I didn't mind the Saka one because I think he's a very good player and he gets on the ball, he's positive, and that's when he changed the formation from 5 to 4 at the back. But I think he could have done that earlier, definitely, to try and control more possession. Because England had a little bit of maybe a 10-minute spell in the second half, probably midway through, where they controlled the ball again, but and put a bit of. I think it was when that Chiesa got injured.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they hit.
Literally.
The front foot. Yeah, they hit the front foot for 10 minutes, but the Italians clawed it back.
Yeah,
It was interesting with Chiesa. You didn't know if he was actually injured or not.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely liked hitting the deck.
I know, but he actually was.
I know, but it didn't, like, when you watch the replay, I was expecting to see like a clear sprain or something with his ankle. I didn't see it, and I was like, mate, get back on the pitch. Like,
Yeah,
it's a Euros final, but he was definitely the biggest threat.
he
One
was
of those
so good.
classic, like, just give me the ball, I'm going to try to do something with it kind of players. Didn't try to bring in too many other players on the way. He just kind of ran the ball, but he was unreal, and I think he was their best player, undoubtedly. But he seems to be a bit of a petulant child at times as well. And just seeing how the Italian players communicate with Mancini, just like they're having a full-on, like, it seems like an argument every time on the sidelines whenever they're discussing shape or where you should be. And then you get, in contrast, whenever Southgate's on the players, they're just like, yeah, understood. And the other players, like, Italian players, like arguing, hands going everywhere. It seems like they're in heated discussion.
Super emotive.
Really interesting. Yeah, but I think Saka was a smart move. I mean, they started with the 3 centre backs and a couple of wing backs there. I thought they weren't able to overlap or really get involved in the game too much. Besides, Luke Shaw's obviously with his opener. I think it might have been Chiesa not tracking back, or Di Lorenzo there from Napoli. He was probably Italy's weakest link there at right back. But it was just disappointing that I think the subs were made too late. I think Grealish should have come on for Mount way earlier. Try and give them something. Try change it up. They're obviously on the back foot, so I think he was too conservative there with his approach. And then all those subs at the end, like with like a minute or two to go in the Euros, and you're taking a pen. I don't know about you, Granty, but not having kicked the ball and then to come on with after 2 minutes and then kick probably the most important kick of your career. I found that really baffling at the start. And I know they have, discussions about what their plan is for penalty shootouts, but I still think blokes that are that young to go into that moment was really, I struggled to see a lot of logic in that move when I first saw it.
Yep. Alex, let's throw to you being the player. What did you think? Have you seen that before? Does it make sense? I mean, are these, I get the feeling that in training, maybe training's a whole different ball game. So who can take the best penalties in training maybe doesn't mean who can take the best penalty in the European Championships final. But yeah, how does that sit with you being thrust into a final like that with 1 minute to go to take a penalty when you're realistically probably cold? I mean, how many touches of the ball did Rashford and Sancho have prior to kicking their penalty kick? But yeah, run us through your thoughts when that was all happening.
I think you see managers do it with, I remember, who was it? Tim Krul.
Van Gaal did it with Krul in the World Cup in 2014. He subbed Jasper Cillessen for the shootout. Yeah.
Kind of thing, but yeah, I kind of agree. I wouldn't personally, if I was a manager, I wouldn't. He's unstable. Am I back? Am I okay?
Oh, there we go. Start again. Go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I'm on hotspot, Bryce. I don't have any Wi-Fi here at the park, so it's relying on 3 bars.
Go.
Through this podcast. Anyway, yeah, if I was a manager, I don't think I'd personally do it. I think it is a big risk to take. Like you said, they're not warmed up in a sense. They've not had much involvement in the game. And I find whenever I come on off the bench, it is hard to get going. It really is, because you've warmed up before the game. You warm up for 15 minutes in the first half. Then you have a break at half time, might have a little kick on the pitch. Then the second half, maybe after 5-10 minutes, you warm up. And generally you stay warming up for the whole half. And they've had to go through all of that, then into extra time, and then come on. And you feel really leggy, and because you've warmed up, you've stopped, you've started, and it's a continuous cycle like this, and you just feel horrible. And it does take 5 or 10 minutes, I think, to get going again when you're playing. So these guys have come on with pretty much no time left on the clock, feeling average at best, I'd say.
Nervous.
God.
Because you've still got to see the game out for 2 minutes. Marcus Rashford's going right back. So it was a little bizarre in that sense. But they'd obviously had that plan before the game, and Southgate believed in it. But I think the penalties, it's pressure that I've never experienced, probably never will. Biggest stage in the world. 3 young lads stepping up to take a penalty for the country to win the Euros. I can't imagine what that feels like. But if I analyse the penalties themselves, I thought they were poor penalties. Rashford's to miss the target when he'd sent the kick the wrong way was very poor. But look, fair play for him to stepping up and taking one. But all 3 of them are great players as well.
Go on,
agree
Bryce.
with you, Granty. There, I think it takes such courage to be like, I'll take one in that moment. But I just found it strange to be even like a confidence point of view, especially from probably Sancho, who we haven't seen a lot of in this tournament. Rashford either, we haven't seen a whole lot of either. Your coach hasn't showed confidence in you to start you or play a lot of minutes in a tournament, but then you should have the confidence internally to take a match-deciding penalty. I just think that's kind of bizarre. Like, my head would be kind of shot, like being after looking at my tournament, being like, I've done sweet nothing this tournament, yet he's showing confidence in me now in this moment. It's like, well, I'd just be so confused. I think it'd be quite tough mentally for them to be able to switch on like that and be like, this is my moment. I'm confident I can do this considering their tournament. And I just think their penalty showed the lack of confidence there, because was it Sancho's that was just saved at that perfect height for a goalkeeper and it wasn't nowhere near the corner of the goals. It was quite central to it as well. So it was, by all means, like, great guess by Donnarumma and good save. But in terms of how keepers want to save a pen, it was pretty like how you'd expect. And then Rashford did so well to send the keeper the other way, hit the posts. That was just disappointing. And then Saka's obviously saved as well. And it was just so sad. Like, that's what they'll remember from that tournament, because they're such amazing young players. And they will have such a big future for England, 100%, and on the world stage in football. And it was just such a disappointing end that it was those guys that ultimately cost them on the pitch when the penalty shootouts came around, because they probably didn't deserve to have that on their shoulders.
Yeah, I think the argument has been, were those players too young? I mean, Rashford's by no stretch a young player anymore. He's played over 200 games for United. He's been playing since he was 18. Like, he's not in that category. Saka, yes. Sancho, yes. From an England point of view as well, I'd probably say. It was both of their first major tournament with the England team. So it's like, they're young. And they're younger than Rashford. I don't know. I mean, talk about, like, it's like, okay, so why the arguments like, why didn't Grealish and
did you see what he said?
Yeah, I see on Twitter he rebutted back saying he wanted to take one, but it was Southgate who picked the players. So clearly they've practiced their penalties, as they mentioned, in training. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe in training, those 5, Harry Kane, obviously, but like those final 3 are penalty takers, and are the best penalty takers. But I mean, Rashford has been taking penalties for United for quite a while, so he is a penalty taker. Harry Maguire was obviously interesting, but he scored, so it doesn't matter. Harry Kane,
loved that.
But I think the 3 that missed, like, Rashford is a penalty taker and has been taking penalties for quite a while throughout his career. Sancho takes penalties for Dortmund, so that's not really in question either. He has taken penalties before. But Saka, what is his first penalty ever in professional sport? And
And he was fifth, like the all
Yeah,
important,
fifth.
decisive one.
But maybe let's talk about this, like experiencing. Would there be less heat? Well, clearly, there would be less heat, do you think, on the team, Alex, maybe if Sterling and Grealish stepped up and missed? Because they're the experienced players? I know it's a hypothetical, but I'm just, wondering maybe whether that's the big conundrum.
Who knows, Stu?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Why? Yeah, it's probably not.
But I think it is interesting, and it's like that's the beauty / horror with penalty shootouts and why it's so unique. You can be the best penalty taker in the world, you can be the best player in the world, and you can still cook it, like Roberto Baggio did for Italy.
Yeah.
Like absolutely skied at the time. He was one of the best players in the world, Italy's darling at the time. So it's like, I think there's been obviously unfair.
Harry Kane did miss the penalty in the semis, did he not?
Yeah, well,
So
he got
it's like-
saved and then slotted in the
But,
rebound.
like, didn't-
I know
I
what
mean,
you mean.
you know,
if that was a penalty shootout, it
Wouldn't have gone in.
counted.
Yeah.
So it's just such an interesting one, and that's why like penalty shootouts are so unique and just they're bloody horrible. As soon as it went to extra time, you could tell teams were not going for the win there, and it's just you just knew it was kind of inevitable. You had that lingering feeling of, oh no, penalties, here we go. And when Harry Maguire celebrated like that, he gave it loads. I just got nervous from that point. I was like, oh no, I think he's given it too much. But fantastic penalty from him. But yeah, it's brutal. Penalties are brutal, and it's an awful way to end a tournament.
It's also like, this might sound weird, but there's always calls for, we got to do away with the shootout. Well, surely there's got to be a better way to end a match. Like, I completely disagree, because although it's brutal, and it's brutal for England, it's also like so interesting how
So dramatic.
Like, the drama is like nothing like anything else in the game, and it is like a massive test of nerves. And it's a very basic skill, right? And how many times do players kick a ball a certain length? And obviously scoring is a different kettle of fish, but it's like, it's 12 yards. It's really not that far. It's the simplicity of a penalty kick without anyone watching is like you hit them 10 out of 10 times, but it's just like, it's amazing what 60,000 people and context and how that, like, the emotion behind these shootouts like generate these storylines. So yeah, I don't know.
Penalties it's one of those ones you say that and you step up at training, like, oh, this is easy. And every time I've stepped up for a pen in the game, you're just like, geez, this is a bit further away than I thought. Geez, this keeper's decently sized. I feel like the goal's a bit smaller. It's amazing what it does to your mind, a penalty shootout. It is one of the most unique parts of the game, I feel, and the drama and storylines that can be grabbed from it are just endless. But yeah, wild. It was wild. And Donnarumma's celebration.
Yeah, but also
ice cold.
Yeah, but also the way that like the pendulum swings in the shootout.
Yeah,
and Alex, I'll come to you now. It's like, okay, England, Harry Kane scores. Italy missed their first pen. Marcus Rashford's stepping up, and it's just like, and then he misses, and then Sandstrom misses, but then Jorginho steps up to win the game, and he fucking misses.
Yeah.
What were you thinking then, Alex? What were you thinking then? And Saka's walking up, and you're like, oh my God, like, what is going on here?
I realised that if Jorginho missed or scored, Italy would have won.
Yeah, I didn't realise either.
All right.
I'd kind of lost count of who was what. I know what England have missed, but I still thought England had another one up the sleeve to respond to if Jorginho scored.
Right.
So I was just in my head. There was so much emotion. I just didn't know really who was taking what.
Have you ever been involved in a game with a shootout or no?
Not the one that I played in. I think the one that springs to mind is the Adelaide
glory game. Ridiculous. They went to like 20 penalties or something. I just didn't
stop. Best game in A-League history.
That game was wild, by the way.
It was nuts.
We got to the keepers and Reddy scored. I know that game was nuts. Yeah, okay, but you've never played in one though.
No, I don't think I have.
Would you take a penalty?
Yeah, for sure.
Where would you go?
I'm not giving that away.
Love that.
Benenko. Yeah. Bryce, maybe I just want to talk about the cultural significance of what England's win would have done, right? Because this is also an interesting side of it. England this is the thing with England. Like 55 years, as I said, since they've won a major tournament. Like this tournament kind of felt like a breakaway from the norm of like England letting the country down. And it's funny how the England have now gone out on penalties and lost. Like so it's sort of like in line with how England have performed in, since Bobby Robson was manager in '86 and they bowed out to the hand of God. I kind of feel like maybe since that time, major tournaments have been a struggle for England because it's kind of always felt like it never went our way. Then Frank Lampard's disallowed goal, the ghost goal in 2010, and just like these sorts of things. But this tournament kind of had this different feel, or at least everybody was saying that this England team under Southgate maybe had a different mindset and were, they got to a final which no other team had done before. So that's definitely breaking away from the norm. But it kind of has ended how every other tournament ended. Very sad on pens. But maybe what do you like I think the cultural significance of England winning would have like completely changed the psyche, which is like of English fans in terms of maybe becoming winners and like actually having that kind of experience. So I think the way that they lost is so brutal in that sense because it hasn't yet. Do you know what I mean? And do you have any comments on that?
Part. I do think I don't want to speak from an England fan perspective, but I don't want to talk on their behalf, but like just in terms of, I think getting to a final and the way they did and beating Germany, I think they've taken another step. Obviously, there's the tangible next step of going from a semi-final to a final after they made the World Cup semi-final. But I just think getting to a final, I don't think they've let anyone down, if I'm honest. Like I think them making a final with a relatively young squad that they have, I think England fans now have more hope than ever for their team to achieve something. Like this team's going to be together for the next couple of years, and at Qatar they're going to do bits. I think they're going to be right up there. I think they'll definitely make the semi-final of the World Cup at least. I think if they keep developing and keep going on the path that they're on, because they showed so much in this tournament. They showed resolve, they showed character. They went to extra time and then they got a win, although controversial. It was still, they ground it out. And just, I know, to lose on penalty shootouts is the most brutal way to lose, but I still think there's so many positives to take away from an England fan and England football point of view, that they should take with them rather than focusing on, shit, we lost a penalty shootout to lose the final. Italy are a very good side, I thought. So I don't think there should be any failure talks. I think it should be more based on the positives, but that's easy to say because I don't have much skin in the game there. But yeah, I think there's so many positives to take from it from an England fan point of view. And it's been, I don't know, somewhat annoying seeing the response from a lot of people in terms of bashing England fans for the behaviour. Like obviously the violence stuff we saw at Wembley and stuff was awful. Never condone that. But just to say like typical English fans and stuff, I was kind of like, every European country where football is big, this happens. Pretty much at a big tournament and a big game, Champions League nights, Italian ultras, you got Eastern Europe, there's ultras and things like that. So it was a bit, everyone was just got on the bandwagon of anti-England, and it was kind of like just an unoriginal opinion and thought. And I thought it was, it was weird seeing it, and it was an easy one to jump on the bandwagon for.
What do you think, Alex? That's interesting because the fans' stories, they've trashed London. Like, what was it? Within 5 miles of Wembley Stadium, all pubs were made to shut at kickoff or some shit like that. Like,
oh wow,
like it's just the amount of carnage that was going on was like awful. And there's fights. English fans are fighting and then rushing the gates at Wembley and all that. But yeah, what do you think about all that, Alex? Like seeing fans do that. How do you feel about how English fans are towards the sport and that whole saga?
Oh, look, they're passionate, and unfortunately,
how do you feel when you see people of your kind doing that?
Look, like Bryce said, I don't condone violence or anything like that, and I think that's probably taking it to extreme levels that when blokes have 6, 7, 8, 9 pints, there's always going to be the one who takes things too far and tempers flare, especially when the result maybe hasn't gone your way, and people take their anger out on other people generally. And that's the world we live in, unfortunately. And I think it happens all over the world in every sport. So, I mean, it is. I think the passion that England fans have is like nowhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And it's great that everyone rallies behind the team. It always ends in the same disappointment, like we've touched on, but it makes me proud to see how much it means to people. And it's something you want to be a part of, I think. But yeah, I think because of that, also, I think that's probably one reason, Bryce, that a lot of people jump on the anti-England bandwagon. There is a bit. It
seemed almost fashionable, didn't it?
Yeah, there is a bit of, I think, jealousy, and people do envy slightly the support that England get, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a bigger, deep-seated issue that I don't think we can get into too much in terms of the violence and what happened there. But yeah, I just thought people's reaction to it was quite interesting and became fashionable to bag on the fans. And obviously there was a lot of horrible stuff that happened, but yeah, but it was pretty. I would note the positive thing, seeing the fans in the crowd, young George celebrating Royals there. I just thought that was so great. He was buzzing, like looking at his dad laughing, like, holy shit, like Shaw scored. I just thought that was such a nice moment to see, and him in his little suit. I just thought it was so good. That was so nice to see. And that's passion. That's passion, and that's like, he'll never forget that. And he'll probably be a Villa fan like his dad, so he won't get too many trophies in the cabinet. But I just think that was such a nice thing, and such a contrast to all the noise we heard on Twitter and all that awful footage that we discussed during the game of fans outside the ground and stuff. So that was so cool to see, and that's passion in the right way.
Yeah, I think it's funny with this whole fan thing. It's like, Gareth Southgate's been built up this whole tournament, so like going on this classy tip, I suppose.
Statesman,
he says he's been built up as this classy, and he's brought the class back to the English national team, and they got good dignity and all that. And then it's just like, you look outside the stadium and there's just fans beating each other up and smashing bottles on the ground and doing all this shit.
So contrasting.
I thought Prince William's reaction was also funny. Like, he was giving it the fucking big end.
Yeah,
like,
come so
on,
great.
Boys. Like, I was getting so into it. Which was funny. But I think also for me, you mentioned that George will be a Villa fan, so he won't win too many trophies. That was actually probably one of the only, being a Newcastle fan, I'm also in that category. So it's like, it was kind of nice to have a team in a major tournament final for once, if you know what I mean, and kind of ride the emotions of that, because it just so you know, I was just saying, I kind of know what it feels like now, which is nice.
That's good, mate. That's good. Just need to get that shake involved with Newcastle now, and then maybe you'll feel it a bit more.
Yes. All right. We got to talk about Italy, because they did win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This isn't an England podcast, but where do I begin? I don't know. Well done, I guess. They were the best dressed. I mean, this team's a bit old. Bonucci and Chiellini are in their mid-30s. I mean, Donnarumma's going to be around for a while. He's 22. Jorginho's what? Late 20s. Berardi's early 30s. I mean, Insigne and Immobile are getting on as well. So they're going to have a bit of turnover in their team. So maybe, their comeback story. What's that? 35 games undefeated now. Mancini hasn't pretty much lost since he's been appointed manager. They didn't obviously make the World Cup in Russia, which is unfathomable to think that 3 years later they've won a tournament. But what a turnaround, Brycey.
Yeah, I just think I think having Italy, the national team, is good for football, good for world football in general, because of the passion they bring, the fashion they bring, the history they bring. You see them singing the national anthem, which is one of the best in the world. It's what a sight that is. Such a big intro for it as well, and just the passion and enthusiasm they show with singing it. I just think a lot of countries, like, people are trying to be too cool, especially in Australia. It's kind of, people are too cool to sing it, and you don't see that as much. And then you see Chiellini and Bonucci just ripping the shirts off their teammates next to them, holding them by the neck, just screaming the song. Such a great sight. And I think that's one of the unique parts of football, and what makes it so distinctive is how global it is and the passion involved. And I think it was a great performance from them. I think Chiesa is an amazing player. He's only 23.
Wow.
And he was a bit of a wonder boy, him and Bernardeschi around the same time, as I was talking to the Argentos about on the night. Like, those were seen as the two wonder boys of Italian football coming up, both from Fiorentina and then moving on to Juve. And then now Nagelsmann, new coach at Bayern Munich. Look, he's like a big fan and might be looking to get him over, which will be interesting. But he was class. I thought Jorginho. Do you reckon Jorginho was lucky to stay on the pitch?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was a shocker. Standing on the quad there, that was
straight red.
Yeah, that was a bad one. I think Chiellini and Bonucci were unreal in defence. It was funny seeing Bonucci shoot from about 35 yards in that, and you could see all the players' hands go up.
Yeah,
they're just so emotive whenever they're playing. If they don't get past the ball, it's not just a thumbs up and next one kind of thing. It's going off their face, which is really interesting. But I just thought they controlled the game quite well. I think England definitely defended resolutely against their wave of attacks. But yeah, I think just that centre back pairing and Donnarumma, that's
colossal.
Yeah.
Red card,
He's
Alex.
22, player of the tournament. Just
and he did win player of the tournament as well. And
Cristiano Ronaldo surprise me.
And Cristiano Ronaldo won the Golden Boot. So Messi and Ronaldo won the Golden Boots at their respective tournaments still. So they're still the best.
Mid-30s.
Crazy. Was that a red card for Jorginho, Alex?
Yeah, he went over. He went for the ball, but he kind of went over the ball because he missed it. And he's put 6 studs into Jack Grealish's quad. For me,
his reaction.
I was surprised that there was little involvement from VAR in the game. Even the goal for Bonucci, the first flick on, there appeared to be possibly a handball involved, but we didn't really see much of it. Whether they checked it, even the tackle, they just seemed to be little involvement from VAR throughout the whole game. I'm not saying they had to use it, but it just seemed that there was a couple of times when you'd think, maybe it will come up on the screen that VAR has checked it, but they just didn't seem to be that. So I felt a bit in limbo as to whether or not they'd made the right call.
But seeing seeing Jorginho's reaction by going, shit, I've got to roll around here and act like it was a 50-50 and I got hurt too and I'm the victim because he knew he did something wrong. I think that was very telling because you see that quite a lot where it's, oh crap, I've done something bad. I'm going to stay down, get treatment. Hopefully the ref goes, oh, nah. So it was interesting. Seeing his reaction made me feel like this guy's guilty here.
And I just want to note, so who were the Italian penalty takers? Belotti and Locatelli both took pens, I'm pretty sure. I'm just looking at the difference in substitution times. Roberto Mancini made a double change in the 54th minute, one in the 86th, one in the 91st, and one in the 96th, and then one in the 118th. So he used all 6 subs available to him because he had an extra sub in extra time, and you get 5 in regulation time. But he used all of them at an earlier time to, get his players into the game and to maybe be warm for the shootout. So maybe that's experience. Who knows? But it's, Italy were the best team in the tournament, weren't they, Alex, do you think?
It's like we talked about with England not setting the world alight. I think going into Qatar, I think it's a different kettle of fish for all clubs. More teams.
Yep.
Different teams.
Different playing styles.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to jump the gun with England. With regards to Italy being the best team, obviously they won the tournament. So, yes, they are the best team. Whether they played the nicest football, probably not.
I think they were the most consistent though, over the course of the tournament and looked the most likely from the start. From the group games, at least. I think we sort of talked about that on this pod.
Yeah, you could say. Yeah, I mean, it was thoroughly deserved. Don't get me wrong. you would have said the same about England if they'd won it.
True.
Spain could have beat them in the semis.
Yeah.
Just one of those. On the day, they were the better team on both. So
Yeah, it felt different to the World Cup with France winning it, didn't it? Like with France, it was like they were clearly playing the best football. They're clearly the most talented team. They won the World Cup. You're like, yep, easy to accept. But I feel like with England and Italy, it could have gone, look, either team probably deserves to win this, especially when it goes to a penalty shootout. Spain, having lost the semi-final in a shootout, like they could have won it. They played great football as well. I don't think it was I think that's what made this tournament exciting. It wasn't like a, yes, 100% clear-cut favourite, easy done. And I think that's what was so intriguing about this tournament. There was like 3 or 4 to 5 teams where you're like, they could all win it.
Yep. Agreed. So I guess attention turns now to the World Cup, which is next November because it's in Qatar, for those that maybe don't know, which is a whole other thing. I don't know what's going to happen with the seasons next season, but anyway, that's happening. All right, boys, that's pretty much it. Also, side note, Argentina won the Copa America, so Leo Messi got his coveted trophy with Argentina and was voted best player and top goal scorer in the tournament, so still the best. Anyway, fellas, that's the European Championships done. Congratulations.
Well done, boys. I feel Premier League starts soon. Get your fantasy team sorted.
Premier League starts in 1 month. 1 month, boys. The 13th of August, Friday night, England. So it's a Saturday morning Aussie time and Korean time. But yeah, 1 month. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the Euros pod, I believe. We us three will maybe have a discussion about what's going to come next. But boys, that was God, it's fun, isn't it?
That was great, Stewart. Can't thank you enough for all your production and hard work, mate, and getting us organised for doing this. I had a great time. It was great to get back in the tournament footy.
Absolutely. Granty?
Yes, thank you, Stewart. And Bryce also. Your expert opinion.
Thanks for turning up sometimes, Alex. It's been good. Thanks for replying to all messages. Thanks for, doing all that.
Busy schedule, It's the life I live, mate. As an athlete, it is
You're
what it
right,
is,
mate.
You've got to work around me. I'm not working around you. Just remember that.
Especially after doing time in prison as well. Like things are tough, Like there's a lot going on.
Oh, that's it.
Nah, you're right.
It's okay, mate.
Well, you're going to be out of quarantine and back home with the fam soon.
I am. Yes.
Hanging out for that.
Yeah, can't wait.
Bloody ripper.
So what's next for the Asian Champions League, Granty? You guys got some really good results. So it was great to see you starting games and being back out there. It was unreal.
I was telling Stu before, we managed to get through the group, so we're in the round of 16. Nice. We've got a game in September, which will I think most likely be against is it Cerezo Osaka or whatever they're called? Chorizo.
Oh yeah. I don't know how to say it because it doesn't seem Japanese. The first part of the name, but Osaka, sick.
Osaka or whatever they're called. Tag's team, Adam Taggart's team. So.
Oh, nice one.
I ended up wishing him happy birthday, but he never got back to me. So there you go. I'll mention it to him when I play him.
Okay, and then ask him to come on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Get him on the pod.
Okay.
Shane Lowry's still coming, for those that are wondering.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Lost in the ether, Shane Lowry. All right, that's it, boys. Any final comments, or have we said it? Thanks to everybody that listened. And we'll chat to you again some other time. See ya.
Here comes Alan Shearer. It's Shearer for Newcastle.
The way he brought that down was fabulous. Cantona.